Hello, this is Vicky from vickycharles.com and you're listening to my podcast. Thank you for listening. The show notes from this and previous podcasts can be found at vickycharles.com/podcast. This week's podcast is 4 great Facebook page tips to help you to get more engagement and to drive more traffic to your website or blog. So let's get on with it. My first great Facebook page tip is to use third-party apps. Now, I'm sure a lot of us are already using apps and widgets on our pages, even if we don't necessarily call them that. So you might have little apps down the side of your page, or perhaps they used to be across the top, but they've moved down to the side now, showing links to your Twitter, or I think my app, you click on it and it shows you my most recent tweets, or to your Instagram or your Pinterest, or to, other things like that. They're really useful, and I think you used to be able to have one that would link straight to your blog, but I'm not sure whether that got kind of kicked out a while ago. But as well as all of those, you can also have apps that will allow people to sign up to your newsletter on your page without leaving Facebook, which I think is something that's more likely to get you more sign-ups, because people don't want to leave Facebook. If they're on Facebook, they want to stay on Facebook. But you can also, I have an app on my page, both of my pages, that allows people to listen to my podcast right there in Facebook. So rather than just being a link to, here's where my podcast is hosted, it is a little kind of the player box that you will see in the blog post for this, and it plays my most recent podcast. Now, I am really not terribly technical, so if I can manage to do that, I'm pretty sure anybody else can. I used Woobox to make my one, but there are other third parties that make apps, and so you can use ShortStack, TabSite, or Heyo. They're all really straightforward, and they usually come either with instructions, or you can Google for instructions and get them, and they're really simple to use. That's really worth putting if you've got anything kind of extra content going on, or anything you kind of wanting to promote. Try and get a third party app involved, and get it showing on your page more readily, because people will respond to that. My second great Facebook page tip is to use images and videos, share images and videos. Videos are the most shared post type on Facebook, and an image will get 179% more interaction than your average Facebook post. You don't have to post pictures, your own pictures if you don't take many pictures, or you don't like your pictures or whatever. You can share pictures from other pages. That's, share photos or graphics or what have you, infographics, funny pictures, funny ads, funny videos. BuzzFeed is great for funny videos, things like that. Or I tend to use my photos to fill in the gaps between blog posts. So I might do a blog post about what happened this weekend, and I'll only include maybe 4 pictures in that, but a lot of the ones before that will have gone on Instagram, and from Instagram they're posted directly to Facebook. I think people respond to that because it gives them kind of a personal insight that they wouldn't get just from reading the blog. It is important to make sure that any pictures you're posting are relevant to your followers. So, if you're maintaining a church page and you put up a picture of Miley Cyrus, she's not generally known for her church-going antics. It's not on topic, and people are not really going to respond to that, and they're probably going to respond by leaving the page. You can use a photo to ask a question. So either, use Fonto or something to create a graphic that says, whatever you want to ask, whatever question you want to ask them, or just take a picture and put a question underneath. So this week on my Facebook, my Single Mother Ahoy Facebook, I took a picture of a jar of pesto that I had in the fridge and said, help, what do I do with this? I bought it for one recipe, and unless I make that one recipe every day for the next 2 weeks, this jar's going in the bin. What do I do with it? And people respond because they love to be helpful, but also they want to give their opinions. People like to interact, but they like to have something to interact with, so give them something to interact with. And a post with a question at the end gets over about 160% more interaction than a post without a question at the end, because you're giving people something to answer, and they really do respond to that for the most part. My third top tip is to have a posting strategy. Now that sounds a bit formulaic and a bit kind of cynical, as if you're kind of just, paint by numbers Facebook. That's not what I mean. I mean, have a strategy that says, I'm going to publish one photo, one text update, one link, whatever, every day. But don't use a scheduling tool to do that. Posts that have come through a scheduling tool like Hootsuite or Edgar or Social Oomph will have 89% less engagement because Facebook basically doesn't like you to use things outside of Facebook. It wants you to use Facebook, and those posts don't get shown. So whatever you're deciding to do, kind of do that consistently every day. And it's not about, if I don't post a picture today, what's the end of the world? It's more about just making sure you're consistently posting something. If you're having trouble keeping up with your page, then by having a little check sheet every day, right, I need to post a photo, I need to post a text update, I need to post a link, it will kind of help you to get into that routine. Remember that your text updates do reach fewer people. Facebook have changed their algorithms because they realised that text updates from individuals inspire other individuals to write more updates, but text updates from pages don't have the same effects. So Facebook have started categorising them differently, and your text updates from your page will reach a smaller audience. So really make them worth reading. If you're only going to, if you're not going to reach many people, you need to write something really good so that more people will comment on it and like it, and it will reach a better audience that way. Ask a question. Again, as I said before, questions get more responses purely because they're questions. And text updates with around 150 to 200 characters tend to perform the best. Anything longer than that, people don't, basically, too long didn't read. People really don't read them. They have really short attention spans. Nobody goes on Facebook to read essays. That's what blogs are for. Anything shorter than that, I think people just don't even bother to read it because they figure it's probably just, just not worth reading. If it wasn't worth writing more than 2 words, I'm not going to read it, kind of thing. And my fourth and final top tip for Facebook pages is to think about your audience. When you have a blog or a business, you're told all the time, think about who's your perfect customer, who's your perfect reader, who are you writing this for? And hopefully everybody's kind of done that exercise and got an idea of who their perfect reader is or who their perfect customer is. But you need to bear in mind that the person that reads your blog every day might not be the same person that comes to your Facebook page every day. I feel like I certainly have a very different audience on my Facebook page for my blog than I do on Twitter or on my blog. I think most of my Facebook fans are just people that don't have blogs, and a lot of them are probably not even necessarily aware that I have a blog. They don't read my blog. Whereas I think a lot of my Twitter followers are fellow bloggers, and they will be more interested in things I have to say about blogs, whereas people on Facebook tend to respond to personal insights to my life because they're not interested in blogging because they don't have their own blogs, and it kind of goes by the by for them. So kind of think about who your audience is and target your updates to them. So your insights on Facebook will show you things like their age, their sex, their location, their language, but also just pay attention to who comments on your posts and the things that they say about themselves, and what that reveals about them, if you see what I mean. So I don't mean like keep a little crib sheet about each individual person, but just kind of, if you post, maybe something political and a lot of people agree with it, then that they're, most of your followers are that way politically inclined, or the other way, they might all disagree with you and you think, gosh, maybe I won't post that again, or maybe I will because I got a lot of interaction, a lot of people argued. It depends what you're after, really. Also, posts that are published on a Sunday get 50% more interaction. I think because on a Sunday, we're all feeling quite lazy. We're watching EastEnders Omnibus. Do they still do EastEnders Omnibus? Did they stop it? I don't know. But, we're all kind of lazy in front of the telly. We're a bit bored. People do tend to kind of scroll through their Facebook a bit more when they're not really engaged in anything else. And I guess if you're sat having a family meal with your family or whatever, a lot of people do end up on Facebook. So bear that in mind on a Sunday. If you've got something to say and you want it to reach more people, post it on a Sunday and ask a question at the end of it and make it only about 200 characters. It's definitely worth bearing in mind. So those are my 4 top tips for Facebook for building engagement and driving more traffic to your blog. I do hope you've enjoyed them. I will say I'd really be interested to know, what is your pain point? What is the thing with social media and blogging that you really could do with some help with? Because I would love to make these podcasts more interesting and useful. So if there is something that is really bothering you, do please leave me a comment. You can email me, vicky@vickycharles.com. You can send me a Facebook. You can send me a Twitter @VickyCWrites. Or you can come and find me on Instagram, where I'm also @VickyCWrites. Just come and contact me, give me a shout, let me know. And I will try to help you the best I can. As I said before, the show notes for this and previous podcasts can be found at vickycharles.com/podcast. And that is me done for today. Thank you very much for listening, and I'll be back next week.